Hello and welcome to the ninth episode of Real Talk with a Unicorn. My name is Tatiana and I'm a recruiter in supply chain and logistics. I'm excited to introduce my today's guest, Christina Wallaert, buyer category manager. Christina has over 25 years of purchasing experience working for retail organizations like Home Depot, shopping channels, Loblaw group of companies, and also Christina is a big supporter of local businesses. And in 2014, Christina has been recognized for her 5 years of service as Information Officer at the Living Arts Center of Mississauga. Christina, welcome to the show. It's my pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much, Tatiana, for inviting me. Excited to talk to you today.
Yes, I'm excited. I hope we will touch a lot of different topics, including shopping, including buying, supply chain, as well as local businesses, holiday season, Christmas that is coming up. Yes, I would like to hear more about, I would like to begin with your blog, which is Not a Shopaholic. I want to hear more about the reason why you started your blog, which is dedicated to support local businesses, and what are your current goals considering this particular activity?
Yeah, so this is actually the second version of my blog. The first one I started quite a while ago and just, I don't know, kind of lost focus on it, got busy working, didn't have time to spend on it. So last year when I lost my job, I decided to start it up again for something to do. Obviously, you know, when you're unemployed, you have quite a bit of free time on your hands and, you know, just to have a creative outlet for, you know, some of the things that I saw. So the reason I started it was I started going to local fairs like the One of a Kind show or, you know, farmers markets and, you know, being introduced to people who had their own businesses and had, you know, certain types of skills and, you know, were making these products and selling them. And what I found was when I would buy them, and in the case of, say, fashion and jewelry, when I was wearing them, people really noticed and always asked where I got that from. And so I started to realize, even though people don't actually know, you know, that a certain piece came from, you know, a handmade person who has this skill versus mass retail, there was something about those handmade small production items that seemed to stand out for some reason. And when I would tell them where I got it from, most people hadn't heard of the place. So I thought starting a blog and writing about what I had found and showing images would just be a way of sharing the information, but also giving some publicity and online support to these very small businesses, entrepreneurs that are really trying to make a living through their passion. And so I just wanted to share what I was finding with other people.
Well, this is very noble of you. And what I also admire, I was on your blog, that you mentioned that you were unemployed and you decided to start this blog. For so many people, they feel that in order to start supporting others, they have to be in a good situation themselves. Your situation certainly was not perfect, but still you found that courage in yourself to actually go out there and support and help people and help them develop their businesses. Because I can tell, I don't think that this is a huge income source, supporting local businesses in the form of a blog or just maybe writing reviews. Where did you get that passion from? What drove you? Where did you find that strength to go and help others when you yourself probably needed help?
Well, it's funny. Well, I guess I kind of didn't really think of it as helping them, but I guess, yes, kind of in a way that it is. I've always been, as I met these people and saw their products and, you know, saw them trying to sustain their business, really had a lot of admiration for them. Because, you know, even though I work in buying and I always thought of that as running a business, I don't really think of myself as having an entrepreneurial spirit like that, where I would want to take on, you know, sort of all of the risk and things that go along with running a business. So I really just had a huge, you know, admiration for them and what they were trying to accomplish. And if you know some creative people, you know how hard it is to manage creative side of the business as well as, you know, financial side of the business. And, you know, here were these, you know, one person companies in some cases trying to make a go of that. And, you know, back when I even started the first round of the blog, social media wasn't what it is now. And, you know, so these people had limited marketing budgets and not a lot of options in terms of how they could showcase their business and their products. So I really just wanted to share. It's funny because I can kind of go back to in my childhood, and I recognize the fact that I actually always liked having things that other people didn't have, right? So it's, you know, like people were shopping at kind of whatever the hot store was at that time. And it was like, well, I don't want what everyone else has. So I was kind of always on this journey to go, you know, seek out unique things. And it's, yeah, like this is, it's a passion project. I don't make any money off of it, and that's fine. I really enjoy doing it. And, you know, after I've written about somebody in their business and email them and let them know, they are just so overjoyed and grateful and thrilled that somebody would take the time to do this. So, you know, that's a rewarding feeling as well, to see that kind of reaction. So I don't write probably as often as I should. You know, it does take quite a bit of time, but yeah, I love doing it, and the feedback is, you know, probably the thing that does keep me going, and sharing too. You know, it's a tough time for a lot of people now. So if I can help in any way there, I'm happy to do that.
And it feels amazing because you are making a difference. There are families and teams and people behind these business owners. And of course, right now, there's a huge encouragement everywhere to invest into your local businesses, to support entrepreneurs that are next door. And what I was going to tell you also is that sometimes people think of supporting local businesses just by going there and buying their product. But there are other ways, like you just mentioned, writing reviews. Maybe can you tell me more about how can someone support local business besides just buying their services or purchasing items from them?
For sure, yeah.
Social media platforms, and how can someone maybe make an impact and change the environment?
Yeah, and I've actually seen a few posts going around on social media exactly to this effect. So you don't just have to buy something to support a small business. You can, you know, follow and like them on Instagram, or if they have a Facebook page, you could, you know, tag them in posts, word of mouth. There's all sorts of non-monetary ways. I know they usually appreciate, say, leaving a review on Google, right? So if somebody's searching their business, that comes up. So yeah, so there are a lot of different ways. You know, I have my blog, but I'll even just do quick posts on Instagram or Facebook. And actually, if you have an Instagram account, that might be the easiest thing because you can link it to other accounts. So you don't have to do multiple posts. It's just one. But yeah, so I'll do an Instagram post, even if I just see something cool, right? And send it out to my network to share it that way.
Yeah, this is very important. Sometimes you may not just take a picture, but expand on that, share the experience that you had at this particular place, the service, how good it was, and maybe wear those pieces that you've got. Also, Christina, we are approaching holiday season, which for many people who are on tighter budgets this year than last year is not really full of joy. They are stressing around it. They really want to make everyone around them happy. They want to bring joy. But in many cases, it depends on how much money you have and on your budget. I think this is where local businesses become helpful. I would like to hear your perspective as a buyer. What's the best way to approach this holiday season while planning purchases for your family and friends? And what type of products you can find from local businesses and where to search for those local businesses?
Sure. Yeah, I think Christmas is going to be different this year for a couple of reasons, right? So one is definitely budgets. People are very conscious about money depending on their economic situation. But also availability of goods, right? Like I was in some stores over the weekend and there are still a lot of empty shelves. And this is at mass retail. So, if they're having issues moving things through the supply chain system, I'm sure smaller businesses are challenged with that as well. But in terms of Christmas and spending money, I've always been of the mindset that great gifts don't have to be expensive ones. So I think making something very personal or personalized for somebody is a great gift. And there are a lot of different ways you can do that are inexpensive, whether it's, a picture in an engraved frame or, something for the family that, kind of like a keepsake memento. Those things are always nice. And I think what also might do well this year at Christmas are sort of mood relaxing or stress reducing items, because it even if you are working and your income level hasn't changed, it's definitely been a stressful year. So I could see things like, bath products, bath bombs, that sort of thing being popular, and those are not expensive, available everywhere from, mass retail down to, small independent local shops, massagers, diffusers with scented oils. I think anything like that that's just sort of, good for mental health and relaxing could potentially be popular. And those I would put sort of in the more affordable category.
Yes, and also maybe gift Christmas cards. I see how creative, how beautiful and unique they are. If you go to local stores and you search for those small purchases that are below $10 that you can give to your neighbors, for example, because it was all about your community, was all about your neighborhood and people you spend the most time with. You got to know them better. And as you just mentioned, local producers, they allow you to customize your products for various price points. You can buy a piece of art, furniture, or you can buy a small card. And I really like that you said it's not about the price, it's about the feeling and it's about the experience. So really, I still hope that this season stays joyful and merry for everybody. And we just shift our buying perspective on that. And Christina, speaking of those preferences and new categories, what do you think are the new categories that 2020 is going to be remembered for, and maybe categories that are no longer popular this holiday season? You as a buyer, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it might actually come down to what's available, right? So, a few things that I'm going to be watching just out of personal curiosity are, are the expensive electronic items going to be as popular this year as they have in the past? Mostly for budgetary reasons, but also stock availability, right? It's, will those items be produced to meet the demand that there usually is? I'm seeing stories on stock being a challenge across a variety of categories, like even something like major appliances, which, when did you ever think you would hear that, it's hard to get a fridge or a dishwasher. So if there's challenges in areas like that, I think electronics and pretty much every category is going to be facing some challenges. So, we'll see how that kind of plays out. The other thing that might happen, and I'm going to keep an eye on this one too, is I don't know if we'll see the same level of promotional activity from retailers that we've seen in the past. So, usually leading up to Christmas, we'll have, Black Friday sales start sometimes in November, and that's getting pushed earlier. If there isn't the stock to support that, I don't know if we'll be seeing those kinds of, deep discounts and sales up to Christmas. And then in Canada, Boxing Day, December 26th, it is a huge deal here. I don't know if we'll see the types of things that we usually see there either. One thing that might actually be a surprise is I could see people potentially gifting services, right? So what are some things? So just like my previous answer was about, for us, relaxing mental state, what are some things that make people's lives easier? So, online grocery service is huge right now. Is that a potential gift for, a family that's busy, has all of their kids at home for school, etc. Cleaning services, if people are okay with, people coming into their house, so it's things like that I think we might actually see a shift to, but it's kind of wait and see. But those are some of the things I can kind of anticipate maybe where things will go this year. And so I'll just be watching to see what happens with those.
But I also noticed myself in Milton, where I live, on our main street, there are different stores that have multiple local brands presented. And this year I noticed that they introduced loungewear, sweatshirts, sweatpants with different encouraging messages, with something that makes you feel cozy and comfortable and relaxed. I think even in major clothing brands, if you go online, they really expanded their category when it comes to loungewear, to kind of work from home outfits.
Yes.
So those things are becoming more popular than suits and official dresses and something like that.
Yeah, and I think especially related to fashion, the businesses that were able to pivot quickly into that type of clothing type was a very smart thing to do, and we'll see how fast some other business can get into that. But nobody's really wearing or has a need for office type clothing right now. So what else can these businesses do to sort of make up some of those dollars? So yeah, I've seen that in a few articles where some brands have added that to their assortment, and it makes sense.
But the thing with that assortment is that you get used to it so quickly, you don't really want to get out.
Well, and then the thing too is if that's available everywhere, and kind of athleisure, lounge clothes were available in a lot of places even prior to this, it's, now is that saturated, and if you don't have a history in that type of clothing, is someone still going to buy from you? So there's a lot of things that come into play there. But things are different for businesses too, and they kind of have to, figure out a way to stay successful. So yes, getting into an area they're not previously known for or have done we'll see if it's the right thing to do and how it plays out for them.
And Christina, we just talked about changing behavior of the customer, of the consumer, but also the buying strategy is probably changing. I know that you've been in purchasing for different retailers for over 25 years. And how has that buying process evolved from when you started and right now? And what trends do you see happening in purchasing and buying and in supply chain in general?
Yeah, so I would say probably one of the biggest things I've noticed over the years has been the availability of inventory. So it used to be, as a buyer, you would do your large purchase that would come in, and then as it sold down, you are able to do a repeat order, get that stock back in quickly, flow it to stores or online, whatever, and things would just keep rolling. What I've kind of seen happen maybe over, say, the last 5 to 10 years is that stock isn't as available as it used to be. Actually, it's probably non-existent. So manufacturers will make, whatever your initial buy is, whatever that quantity is on the PO, maybe, you've planned for, say, 10% extra just in case. So that order comes in. If that moves quicker than you actually thought it would, there usually isn't, inventory sitting in a warehouse somewhere now that you can pull from to, backfill your stores or inventory. So it's almost turned to sort of make to order model. And then for consumers, it's, if you're in a store seeing something today that you want and think, oh, I'm not sure I'll come back for it. If you go back in 2 weeks, it could be gone, and it could be, depending on
your size may be gone. So it
right.
all comes down to luck.
Pretty much. And, in a normal supply chain scenario, say if things are coming from overseas, that could be, anywhere from like a 3 to 6 month lead time, depending on how they plan for their restock. So, in the past, maybe you were lucky and you go back a couple of weeks later and now it's there. But, this year I'm finding it's not. And I've talked to a few other buyers and vendors from my past, and everybody is saying, if you see something, especially if you want it for a Christmas gift, buy it now. Like, don't wait, because there won't be any restock. So that's kind of been the biggest thing I've seen in terms of how inventory has changed. And, that in itself is a trend, because that didn't used to be the case, but it's, now nobody wants inventory sitting on the shelf, because they equate that to just, money sitting there, being stagnant. So now we get into this, like we saw with the pandemic, it's like, oh, demand has sold out product faster than we thought. It's hard to play catch up, even for things that are made domestically. So I'm being told, if you see something, buy it right away. So I will pass that advice on to everybody else.
That's a good advice, and it's quite discouraging to know that deals this season may not be as deep as we expect them to be, and the variety, the assortment may be a little bit more limited this year. So certainly expanding your vendors and maybe looking out to what the local businesses have to offer in terms of services, products, Christmas ideas, or even experience. If you're comfortable going indoors, maybe you can go to a craft shop or a barn and create a sign, or do something creative with your close friend and share that experience. So definitely the perspective shifted from the price of the product to the experience and emotions that this product gives to someone. That's amazing. And also, Christina, I would like to touch on that aspect, because I see how optimistic you are. You love your job. You are a very experienced buyer, and you also share the good vibe with others on social media. You network. You don't lose your optimistic spirit. However, I know that your job as a buyer has been affected by COVID, and a couple of months ago, you started looking for a new opportunity. How do you find your job search? Do you have those days when you feel absolutely discouraged? Do you have those days when you are super excited? Can you share that? Because looking for a new job, especially right now, it's an up and down process. How do you manage those downs, and what experience can you share with other job seekers?
Yeah, for sure. It's exactly actually how you described it. There are ups and there are downs. And what I find is that there's not much in between, right? So, even something as simple as, somebody reaching out for an interview for a job you've applied for, just send your mood shooting straight up. And then you get a rejection email and you come crashing down. And so those are pretty, I don't know, what's the word? There's,
extreme?
Yes, thank you. Very, very extreme, moods to deal with. And it's not always easy. It's, I started doing some LinkedIn post about it, and, I really want to be honest about the process. Looking for a job, even in regular circumstances, is very difficult. And, now with so many people out of work, limited job, it's that much harder. So the way I've dealt with it is giving myself permission to take time off. That's sort of been the best thing for me. So, if it's the middle of the week and I've just gotten a rejection email from a job that I thought I was a really good fit for and, very excited about, and, that sends me into a tailspin and I just feel like doing nothing for that day because I'm so upset, I actually just let myself do nothing for that day, but I give it a time period, right? Because obviously you can't, you need to get back at it at some point. So just my own personal process is, to give myself a day to, be upset and disappointed about that. And then the next day go back to it. And, motivation comes from, finding something better than I was at before, because the job I got laid off from because of COVID, I wasn't entirely happy with it. It wasn't a very challenging role, and, there weren't any opportunities for growth. So, not the end of the world, but, definitely being thrown into this scenario makes things harder. So, yeah, so that's what I do. Like I said, just give myself that, permission to take a break from the job hunt. And, I've started to go for walks every morning. So we have a dog, and, I've become the full-time dog mom to him. So he gets his lunchtime walk, but I realized that's not exactly a relaxing one for me. So every morning, but before it's time to walk him, I'll go for my own. And, just reaching out to friends and having a phone chat. Actually, after you, I have a Zoom call with someone I met in California who's in the same position as me. And so we just have these, sort of bi-weekly calls to just, chat, support each other, vent, and talk. And so you just create your own support system in whatever feels right for you. I'm happy to share with people what I've done, but I also think, that's a very individual thing, and different things work for different people. And, I don't have as full of a household as some other people, so it might be easier for me to do some things like take a walk by myself, whereas, maybe for some other people, that's not possible. But communication, I found, has also been key too. And, saying to my partner, like, I'm not having a good day. I need you to take on some of the work here because I need some time. And that's probably not something I've done in the past, but I've learned to do that now. And that's been a huge help. And so, yeah, I'll either, leave the house and go out somewhere, or just, go in the basement. And it's like, yeah, you're on dog duty and house duty, and I just need a break. So those are some of the things that have worked for me, that have kept me sane mostly. Most days that keeps me sane.
That's amazing. I like that you are in tune with yourself, that you do not suppress your feelings and emotions. You don't say yourself, okay, I'm not allowed to feel this. I'm not allowed to think about that. I can only think about this. And this is actually the worst thing you can do, because all your vital energy, your creative energy goes like through that, suppressing those emotions. So I like that you feel them, you go for them in your very unique way. I'm quite similar to you, but I understand that there are other people who may have their own channels on how they deal with negativity, with rejections, with other situations that are difficult to handle immediately. So it is a very unique thing, but what I think is important is when you listen to yourself, and of course avoid comparing yourself to others, because there are different success stories and there are failure stories. So and there's always temptation to think of yourself as someone who is not doing enough, who is not working hard, who is not pushing enough. And I always say, do your best every day, and every day your best is different. Some days...
I like that. That's a great way. I like that.
And this is when you look back, you don't regret about your actions. You just know that this was probably the best you could do at that point of time with that type of resources you had. And which makes you move forward without guilt and regret.
Yeah, sometimes what I have to do too is just remind myself that this is a journey, and these ups and downs are, on that journey, and that eventually this is going to end. So I think sometimes it's hard to be positive about that because you don't know what the outcome is just yet, right? But once you do, and when you look back on everything, you realize, oh yeah, that wasn't so bad. So sometimes I just have to remind myself of that. Is like, these are just stops on that journey to whatever the end result is. And even realizing that, maybe the next job I get isn't my full-time career dream job, and that's okay. If it's, a temporary job, that's a 3 to 6 month contract, again, that's another stop, on the journey, and I'm still working towards that end result, and that's okay as well.
Or even if you have to take a step back, financially or
right.
These are all solutions that sometimes we don't have choice but accept them, and it is also okay. In many cases, it's not just about the role, it's about the people you're going to meet, the teams you're going to work with, experience that is going to make you a better person, a better professional. So
absolutely, I agree with that 100%.
Christina, I really enjoyed our today's conversation, and I can talk endlessly about shopping and budget.
Same. Same.
and hunting for deals. And I still hope that deals are going to be there. Our sizes are going to be there for us, and all items that are going to make our families and friends happy will be there. It's just we need to make some time in our calendar to start shopping for holiday season a little bit sooner this year than usually. And of course, Christina, I hope that very soon a great organization will be happy to onboard you, and you will be thrilled and excited to start bringing value, your knowledge and expertise to a type of company that you wish for. So
I certainly hope so, and appreciate you saying that, Tatiana. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. It was nice talking.